it's not the Western by way of Hollywood, it's the Western via Japan and then sort of filtered through Leone's perception of America that had come to him in the late 40s with the occupation and the war. And so it's a foreigner's, it's a European's perspective on the American genre.
Interesting. And so we've got this best known sort of reworking of this story. You write in the book about Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia being sort of Peckinpah's Yojimbo. And then in the mid-90s, Walter Hill did a version of it called Last Man Standing in sort of a Prohibition era America with bootleggers and that sort of thing. I guess what I'm getting at is what do you think it is about this story that makes it so very adaptable to different cultures, different time periods? What is it that makes it so, makes filmmakers keep returning to this?
It's a kind of archetypal story. On one level, it's a kind of revenge tale. It's very stripped down, very elemental, and the fact that there's no backstory surrounding the character of Sanjuro, I mean, even the name, of course, is a nonsense. This is the first man with no name. It's a nonsense name. And that's very familiar to American audiences from the Western. If you watch a movie like Shane, the character there has no backstory. So when you do that, you can create a mythic aura surrounding the character, and that can be very enjoyable to watch on screen. I mean, this movie's a real mongrel in a way, because there's so many influences operating on it. It's not just the Western, but it's based kind of loosely on a Dashiell Hammett novel called Red Harvest, which itself sort of looks at the Western. And Kurosawa also takes from American film noir, the beating scene when Sanjuro's being beaten up, is a very close lift from an early 1940s film noir starring Alan Ladd, even down to the fact that you've got these two thugs, and one's a big brute and the other one's kind of small. So, there's a real sort of mishmash of cultural stuff that goes on in Yojimbo.
Gotcha. And just out of curiosity, right now, in sort of the modern era, the distribution apparatus worldwide is fairly streamlined. If a film is a big hit internationally, then it makes its way to us pretty quickly and pretty easily, and vice versa. What was that process like in this time? How long did it take for us to see this film, and were the people who saw Fistful even aware of the sort of homage?
Probably not. When the Leone films came out, they were regarded almost universally by critics as unrelieved trash. They were sort of an improper spin on the American Western, so they got no respectability at all. Audiences, on the other hand, loved them,
right. And
so they took off, and then gradually critics came around to see the interesting things that he was doing with the Western. Kurosawa had, any sort of Kurosawa film that was coming out now got into international distribution very quickly. And this, of course, is the era of the art film.
I'm sorry, the question for anybody who didn't hear is about the thematic link between this film and Kurosawa's Sanjuro.
As a lot of you know, Kurosawa made another movie about this character. He didn't generally like to do sequels, but Yojimbo was so successful that Toho prevailed upon him. So the next year he does a picture called Sanjuro. And it's very different. Yojimbo is about this really corrupt town out in the countryside somewhere. It's far away from centers of commerce. Sanjuro, it takes place in a castle town where you have a lot of samurai who are garrisoned. So you're much closer kind of to centers of commerce and political power there. And it's about corruption in a clan. It's a much more kind of gentle comedy. Yojimbo is, I like to think of it as an apocalyptic comedy, because Kurosawa is really erasing the world of 20th century capitalism in Yojimbo. So it has a sort of epic quality. Sanjuro is more a comedy of manners. The humor is more gentle, and it's always interesting to speculate if you sort of try to construct a biography of the character. Where is he in terms of the movies? Which one? The events in which film come first? It's sort of hard to answer that question. There's an identical scene in Sanjuro where he's asked what his name is, and in that film he looks out over a bunch of camellias, And he says, my name is basically Camellia, 30, going on 40. So it's a nice reprise of that moment.